doing?
Good morning.
Welcome to the Leather Helmet Fandom Sports Podcast. It is August 16th, early Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. We talked last Monday, I believe, or Sunday, and we released it Monday, so it was Sunday. But some news broke over that 2-day period. I believe it was yesterday. Dalvin Cook is now a part of the, why am I forgetting now?
New York Jets.
New York Jets, which then affects Breece Hall's ADP. And then you have Zeke over in the Patriots, which then affects Stevenson's ADP. How do you feel about the moves in general, like just helping the team, not fantasy-wise?
Both great moves. I mean, Patriots, I think majority of people who follow any fantasy know that they didn't really have any running back depth, so adding Zeke's just a good, solid, experienced guy that they don't have to worry about any injuries in that position. So they're pretty much set, and they can also give Stevenson a break.
Do you think it's going to be still like majority of the work goes to Stevenson and then say 10%, 15% goes to Zeke, or you think it's going to be more committee?
It'll be like a normal non-overload. Like, it's not going to workhorse.
Green Bay? It's not going to be like a Green Bay situation where they
it'll be like that, yeah.
I mean, a little like that much? That's pretty committee.
It'll be like 60-40.
That's pretty committee.
70-30. Yeah. I mean, it's committee, 70-30, but it's always going to lean Stevenson in my eyes.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
I think you get the respect for that. But what do you think about the Cook going over to the Jets? I think this move with their defense, with Rodgers coming over, with rookie offense, rookie defense of the year, basically, I think that it gives them a chance to actually make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the same thing as Patriots, I guess you would say. Like, really covering their running back depth, but also just putting a whole new weapon in their game.
Right.
Like, if it doesn't pan out that Rodgers and his wide receivers connect that well, they can rely on their run game and their defense, so they don't have to worry.
I don't really remember Breece Hall that much last year, only because he got hurt right in the beginning. But I believe he was a more like a running back than a pass catch.
Yeah, he definitely could do both. But he's known more as a rusher. Like, he's not Nick Chubb level rusher, but he's like I guess he's kind of close to Stevenson. Like, he can catch pretty well, but he's more of a rusher.
Yeah, I was just thinking when I heard the news, I was like, oh, that's crazy. This kind of reminds me of like when Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay and he had Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and now he has Cook and Breece Hall, which I think is like the next level up from those two, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Jones is definitely a way better catch passer than all four of those, but
with them healthy, it's probably the best two running back duo in the league. Yeah. And the Jets offensive coordinator is the offensive coordinator that had A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in the Packers when Rodgers was there.
I did hear that.
Hackett, so I think he's going to use them more of a committee type, just like Jones and whatnot, just bounce them back and forth. Pretty much play whoever's got the hot hand for the week.
Yep. Well, that's pretty much the news. The only other person we're waiting on to fall is Hunt. He's got 4 weeks to fall somewhere before the season starts. He might even be able to fall during the season or towards the end, but he will probably play this year and affect some kind of fantasy level as far as running backs go.
He's the only big target left
in
free agency, so he'll be picked up soon.
All right, well, let's get into our top 10 running backs of the 2023 NFL season. We'll start off with one and work our way up. My one and your one, I'm going to guess it was Christian McCaffrey.
That is correct.
I don't see anyone really picking anyone other than CMC strictly because how high his ceiling is and how high his floor is. Like, that's pretty much what we talked about last year and will always be. I mean, last year he had 329 total touches, finishing at second in RBs. When healthy, he's had 403 total touches, 326, Obviously, last year was 329, and then 197, which was his rookie year. So that's averaging 308 touches. That automatically puts you up pretty much around the top 10 every single year he's been healthy. Now, obviously, we have the 2 years where he wasn't healthy and missed a significant amount of games. So we're just hoping that doesn't happen, especially in San Fran. Hopefully, Mitchell takes some of the work away, to be honest, so that way he doesn't get hurt. But I think San Fran's going to use him even more than he did last year, and last year was at 329 touches. So just bumping that up, and he already finished second, I think it's going to easily take over at first.
Yeah, I feel like he's, even though primarily most of his career, he's avoided contact and like just been a guy that has longevity and stays healthy because of the way he plays, kind of like a Kamara, like avoids contact and more shifty. I think this year, of any years, he's going to ball out just because he has an opportunity to maybe win a chip before he gets out of the league. Because I don't see him 3 years and less. He's probably going to be done. I don't think he's going to be like a Frank Gore. I think he's just going to take his losses and enjoy what he gets out of it. But in the next year or two, he's probably going to be balling out as hard as he can, even though they might limit him because they're going to play it smart to keep him to the playoffs. But, yeah, so I feel like the narrative is pretty much the only thing bad against him is he didn't do as well with Elijah Mitchell on the field last year. So they played 4 games together. You can really take one out.
Was it only 4?
Yeah, they only played 4 together.
Why did Mitchell get hurt?
Yeah.
Okay. The first one I wouldn't count, like you were saying, because it was...
No, not the first one. It's the last week you wouldn't count because it's week 18.
I wouldn't count the first one either.
What do you mean?
When he came over to the team
he wasn't playing with them.
No, Mitchell was playing.
No, Mitchell did not play till his 3rd week.
His first KCL pulled up right now. I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, it was week 11.
Mitchell
didn't play versus KC.
Mitchell's games last year.
He didn't play versus KC.
Oh, wow. I guess you're right. Damn. Who played then?
Probably something nitty random.
That's crazy.
But either way, there's 3 games that they did play together, like actually played full games together. He still averaged 64% of the snaps. So, like, leaning towards, like, okay, we favor this guy in the 60, 70 range. He averaged 10-plus rushes per game. The one I really like is he averaged over 6.5 targets per game. All these games, by the way, were with Jimmy G. He looked worse than he was, I think, on like the end. Like if you just look at his fantasy points alone, because he had an off couple weeks with touchdowns. He only scored 1 touchdown in those 3 weeks. But the good thing is, for his argument, Mitchell didn't score any those 3 weeks. So it wasn't like Mitchell was like poaching any of the touchdowns. They just had an off couple weeks for whatever the game script went. But while he was on the 49ers, he averaged over 1 touchdown per game. So he's kind of a lock for a touchdown every week.
Definitely.
Which is strange to say that he had those 3 weeks without a touchdown, but he averaged over 1.
He's like minus 120 nowadays, even worse.
Yeah. And I do like his targets with Brock Purdy. So they went up to 8 targets average per game. And they're still pretty good targets. I mean, they should be for any running back. It's not far down the field for most of his targets. So that's good to know that Brock Purdy is willing to and will check down to his best target. So I feel like I'm kind of concerned when I think about CMC outside of these stats because I'm like, oh, they have Devo, they have Ayuk's coming up. Mitchell's always a decent backup rusher to take rushes. So it seems like his workload is like the biggest worry, but I feel like he's just so efficient that it's guaranteed he's getting like 16 points a week. Like that's the guarantee.
Yeah.
And that's such a good guarantee. And then you can always go up to 30-plus points with 2 touchdowns, which he does it like at nothing.
Oh, yeah,
no doubt. Touchdowns is like, okay.
I mean, I have here his healthy years with Panthers. He scored 19 touchdowns and 13 touchdowns. But being with the 49ers, I can't see him not scoring more than
Yeah, I mean, like the
worst
case scenario is Brock Purdy gets hurt. and then they have like Trey Lance starting or something garbage.
Yeah. But I mean, then again, you have Kyle Shanahan as your head coach, and this dude has done wonders with the running back.
Yeah.
No matter what player he has, no matter what committee he has, he knows how to get the ball in the running back and move the flags and then just continue on.
I will say though, like even though I have
him
him number 1 and I still would take him there, I'm not excited to take him in the first 5 picks. Like it doesn't make me feel like I'm gonna win my league just because of it. I could, like it's definitely possible.
Like I think you're saying that a little bit
me.
wrong. I mean, at least for me, I'm excited having 2 other running backs as much as I'm excited as having CMC.
Yeah, like there's other guys that I think could land as high as them and do it in the second round.
Right.
This year.
I don't know about the second round, but
just because of his workload. But either way, he's going to be a baller. So,
all right. Quick few notes I got on him. Last year, he averaged 20.9 touches compared to his healthy years at Panthers was 23.3. So obviously his touches went down a little bit on average, but the only person to get close to his touches were Saquon Barkley, his rookie year, with 353 total touches, and then 352 touches last year Saquon Barkley had, and both times he finished first and fifth. And then you have Derrick Henry, 382. We all know he just gets fed the ball. He finished fourth that season, and then in 2020 he had 397 total touches, and he finished second that season. That was in 2020. And then you have last year, which was Eckler, finishing 311 touches, and he finished first. So basically, he's had tremendous amount of years, or a lot of years in history of getting this amount of touches. He's going to continue to get this amount of touches, especially in the 49ers. He's going to get Kyle Shanahan to give him the ball. Kyle Shanahan's always talked highly of him. I think everyone has, and he's literally the one that wanted him to come over. And he made some remark about like, "Oh, I've been waiting to get you forever." So point being that with that amount of touches, there's no way he doesn't finish at top 5 unless he has to do something with not being healthy. And I think that's the number one reason why he's at my 1 overall, is just like his floor is extremely, extremely high.
Yeah.
I mean, he has 3 seasons that are 1,000 plus rushing and 700 receiving yards, second most in the NFL. There's only one other player that has that many seasons with that, and he's been in the league for years. So that's pretty much all I got for him. So we'll move on to our second. Who is your second?
So mine was the guy you were just talking about, Saquon Barkley.
Wow.
Yeah,
mine's Austin Eckler.
So definitely higher than consensus by a little bit.
Definitely.
But, I mean, obviously Saquon had a somewhat disappointing career so far just because of injuries alone. And also he's worked against one of the worst offensive lines probably in the whole league. Maybe like top 3 worst.
Nah.
Since he entered.
Right now they're the worst.
Yeah.
By PPF
but I mean,
or PFF.
PFF's always kind of off anyways. But I'm just saying, like, overall his career, he's been working against almost everything. But he still has one of the highest snap percentages of any running back. He averaged 87 last year. Really the only person that gets that type of workhorse is like a Derrick Henry. Nobody's on the field for every down except for like a CMC and like Panthers type deal.
Right, which he had to last year because they literally had no one besides it.
Yeah,
and now they have Waller, but it's still no one.
Yeah, I mean they have a little bit more in the passing game, but nothing that would really take away from the running back targets too much. But I mean, he averaged 4.5 targets per game and 18 carries per game. So I mean, this guy's just, the volume is always going to be there. Obviously, they were able to work out his contract, so it's clear that they know he's worth something. It's just the whole situation of running backs being replaceable, blah, 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 blah. I will say I just love betting on talent, and I think he's easily one of the most talented running backs in the whole league, if not the most talented overall. He just hasn't proved himself, mainly because of injuries. But when you see him flash, he just is different. It's like a CMC, but even bigger. He had the same yards after contact per CMC last year. So he really doesn't completely avoid contact, but he's just really good at avoiding it, his shiftiness. So I'm betting on his talent and his volume. That is pretty much guaranteed. There's nobody behind him in running back depth chart that threatens anything. So go Giants. I mean, they kind of suck, but hopefully
It's weird
they do
because
decent because he's going to need them to.
your 1 and 2 is CMC and Barkley, and it wasn't last year, but it was the year before that. That's where everyone had them two ranked, and they both got hurt that season. So
Yeah.
hopefully that doesn't happen.
That would suck. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like them two are probably the most talented in my eyes.
Oh,
currently.
no doubt in my mind.
So they have the highest upside because of that. It's just CMC's in a lot better situation team wise, but Barkley's in a better volume standpoint compared to him.
Yeah,
So.
I think last year the whole niche on him was like, hey, he only improved one time, which was his rookie year, and then he got hurt, and then he never really improved again. And last year actually put a stamp on like, hey, he is the talent, and he now has proven multiple years of placing top 1, top 2. So he can definitely do it again. So I wouldn't be mad about the pick. I just got him way out of there for other reasons. But moving on to my second, Austin Eckler. In the past 4 years, no one has had a better RB placings. And in the past 5 years, no one besides CMC has had a better placing in their best 3 years combined together. So that's being the, what was it? Brings you back to 2019. Since 2019, he's had the best RB placing. So just like I spoke about with CMC, his floor is extremely low. This would probably be the next lowest it can possibly, or highest floor it could possibly get.
No.
Yeah, highest floor.
I'm just saying. I wouldn't
you don't
agree.
think so?
Not the highest floor this year.
Not the highest floor. I think CMC still has the highest floor. But I'm saying besides CMC, I think he has the second highest floor. Strictly because if you're saying from back in 2019, he's had the best RB placings, then I'm going to stick with that safeness and roll it out again, knowing that his team hasn't changed much other than adding a wide receiver and getting somewhat better offensive line.
Still got a different offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to play that much a role for him. Like I said, a lot of it is just checkdowns to Keenan Allen and Eckler. But anyway, he may be pound for pound probably the strongest guy in the league. So regardless of his height, regardless of his size, the dude like is a dog. Like you were talking about, like Debo. I would say Eckler's probably the dog of running backs. Either him or Henry, but Henry's kind of soft in the pass blocking game, to be honest. So he's just a tough guy that is literally going to be there. I don't think he's ever had an injury year yet. Since he's taken over for the starting role for Gordon back on Broncos. Chargers, when Gordon was on Chargers. Since joining the NFL in 2017, he's only missed 8 games among 2 seasons. So it's not even like he missed 8 games throughout one whole season. It's between 2 seasons, he only missed 8 games. So he's a very healthy, safe bet, which is why I think he has an extremely high floor as well. Since 2020, his situation has only gotten better and better year after year after year. And I think this next step from last year is probably better, I would say, just because offensive line, but not significantly better. So it's a little bit better, but nothing to actually like change my mind. But he finished first, so if it's staying the same or a little bit better, then I can't see him going worse than 2, to be honest. But obviously, a lot of stuff happens. His numbers go up while their weapons stay pretty much the same, and he remains the youngest with the least amount of injuries among the weapons. So you have Keenan Allen, Williams.
How is he younger?
I guess the rookie isn't younger. He's not younger, but he's younger than all of those, than those 2. And whatever running back is behind him. Probably not, actually.
Yeah,
but between their top 3.
Older is Keenan.
Williams is older, too.
Well, he's a receiver 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I don't think he's older.
The,
How is he older?
The three main weapons is because he is. I already checked. The three main weapons is Williams, Keenan Allen, and him, and he's the youngest out of those three.
Yeah. So
And he's he remains injury prone or non-injury prone. He doesn't get non-injury prone amongst those three as well. He's on a high-power offense in a division with high-power offenses as well, so that's a lot of shootouts most likely. I would say he's probably in the second worst of that division, would you say? They would probably play second?
What?
Like you would take KC. No, they would probably be second.
They would be
best.
Second or first.
Yeah. I guess you're right. But anyway, a lot of shootouts. Him and Jefferson, like I said, are probably the safest bet / return of investment for their ADP in the first 4 to 5 rounds, I would put it at. So meaning like he hasn't got hurt a lot, and his previous years have proven that he's going to be up there year after year after year. He has tough defenses for playoffs, but that could help him more than hurt him being the screen king and the O-line they have.
I feel like, I mean, I said this last year, and I was proven wrong as far as his touchdowns. I just feel like it's more likely he eventually falls off as far as insane amount of touchdowns. Like he had 18 last year, and the year before he had in the 20s.
But why would it fall off this year?
Why would it fall off?
It's the same exact team as last year. Besides,
because nobody in history does put up those touchdown numbers 3 years in a row. So that's case number one.
No one has. No one can.
I mean, I agree, but there's a reason nobody has, because it's
actually no. Henry
touchdowns.
Probably has. Let me pull up Henry's.
Nobody's put up 20 and then 18.
Oh yeah, no, not that. But then, like, I get what you're saying as far as he's going to take a step down on touchdowns, but it's still going to be high.
I mean, high for a running back is like 10 or 11.
So Derrick Henry had 12, 16, 17.
Yeah, so you're comparing a guy who's literally a legitimate hammer, and he's probably been 5 or 7 short of all Eckler seasons.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I feel like luck has been on his side, and good for him, but I just can't see a repeat of the touchdowns and the receptions. The receptions are insane.
The receptions and the touchdowns also happen because of what I said. Keenan Allen and Williams gets hurt most of the time.
Now you have a young Quinn Johnson,
yes,
who's willing to play slot. He's fully capable of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say him playing that much, but yeah.
And you have a different offensive coordinator. Even though I like the offensive coordinator, he's going to spread the ball because obviously they been losing. So they need to change something.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just feel like his receptions are going to come down. Targets are going to come down.
It's not offense they need to change. They need to change their defense, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, defense would help the most. It's the area that needs the most improvement. But if they're going to, because their offensive coordinator changed and he's a good one, I think they're just going to open up more lanes and use Eckler a little bit less, because obviously it's not winning them games. But regardless, say he gets 30 less receptions over the whole year and 7 less touchdowns, you're talking about 100-point drop. And that's not unreasonable at all. Like, that is a normal, still very good season as far as like volume for a running back. His volume has just been ridiculous. And I think they almost know that, which is why they really don't want to re-sign him to another contract. They're almost at the point like, dude, you get 2 more years of this kind of work and you're not going to be worth anything in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just pretty much banking on, again, this year, just like I did last year, that this is the year that he loses production and a little bit of efficiency in the touchdown area. So because of that, there's no way he's going to keep up with guys that get the higher normal guaranteed volume, like Chubb or somebody like that, or CMC. So I don't know. This is just a down year, I believe, for him. And down just means he falls 3 spots, 4 spots. Like, nothing insane. I just would not say his floor is super safe. Just because he's done it doesn't mean he's going to do it again. Right. He's not that type of player.
But just because
He's not that talented.
doesn't mean he can't do it again.
I mean, because he did it is why people are high on him. But they shouldn't be as high. One, because he's definitely not as talented as some of the backs that can do it. And two, he has a completely different situation coming. You say it's not different, but he has Quentin Johnson and a completely different offensive coordinator, which really changes more than anything when you have a different play caller.
I don't think Quentin Johnson,
especially when you're trying to change something to win, like actual NFL games. Like, they're not going to keep doing the same thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought in a different offensive coordinator.
Yeah. But their offensive coordinator got a job, so.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I like, I guess you could say, for his touchdowns is they'll be in the red zone just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
Because I really like Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator. I just don't think he's going to utilize Eckler as much. He's going to look more for finding ways to get Mike Williams open because he's really talented, and Quentin Johnson open. Like, he just has such good receivers. And if you can get those guys open by the play calls, like, instantly they jump up in value compared to Eckler.
I would say the reason he stays at 2 for me still, regardless of what he said, strictly comes down to injuries. Dude just doesn't get injured while everyone else gets injured.
Yeah,
and
I do like
he's
that.
Pound for pound, heavy, strongest dude. That's why he just takes care of himself.
Even though it's not his top priority, he's a big fantasy guy, so like it's always in the back of his head. Yeah. Like, I got some more points coming.
Yeah, and he like does it with his fans. He makes it noon and he like goes back and forth.
So I like that, but I'm still not. That's not pushing me up to go to number 2 for him.
All right, moving on to our third. My third is Bijan Robinson.
Oh,
yeah, I got him pretty high. I was gonna put him at like 4 or 5. Started looking into him a little bit more, put it in a situation, and I was just like, "This is just beautiful."
I love him. I'm not taking him at his ceiling, which is what you're doing pretty much.
I feel like
number 3. I mean, he could be number 1, but
5 guys you're taking them at their ceiling.
No, that's not true. I see a drop. Like, I'm not a first round pick and a second round pick's a big difference.
I'm fine with any 3 of these players I just announced. Now I'm fine with any of my top 5.
I don't know.
As my
first pick. Bijan I'm all right. But yeah, and I get it. I mean, the dude's super, super talented.
Yeah.
And he's in the best situation possible for a running back.
I mean, his Falcons O-line is projected top 10 in 2023 season. They literally got Patterson and Tyler Algier to have a 4.8 and a 4.9 yards per carry. And that's Tyler Algier as a rookie at 4.9 yards per carry is insane. So it just shows how good their, what's it called? Their
rush game is?
The rush game plus their O-line and just like how much they use them if you have 2 running backs getting that many yards per carry. I could see him probably getting around like 270, 280 rush attempts just because they have no passing game other than Pitts. What is Pitts' first name?
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, that's what it is. But he just looked nothing like he should have been and was actually complete buns, which was on my hate list, I think, last year as well. And it pulled up pretty well. So they're literally going to be running the ball. So 280 rushing attempts puts you up there extremely high, just overall touches. And then I would say that's like 1,400 rushing yards. And then I got him at 50 receptions, which then around 400 receiving yards as well, because we all know how great he is as receiving back as well. So if you put all of that together, I'm easily putting him right around the top 5 running backs. And then my main reason why I have him higher than the other 2 is because of his situation. And also Arthur Smith came in as a head coach in 2021 and was the one that changed Patterson's career and literally fed him the ball through the air and switched like the whole how Falcons play with the running backs, and they use him open, and he spoke about B.J. Robinson being better than them 2 in both situations, receiving and rushing. So he's most likely going to do what he did with Patterson 2 years ago in 2021, while also just giving him the ball to rush nonstop because they have such a good offensive line. So with that, those two situations being together, his situation is literally this number one overall, to be honest, which is insane to say for a rookie running back. But I don't think anyone's.
More than you think.
Yeah, I mean Barkley had it.
I
don't think CMC did.
Kareem Hunt, I think, with the Chiefs.
I know what's his name did.
Kareem Hunt when he had the Chiefs.
Vikings dude.
What, Dalvin?
The best running back ever.
AP.
Yeah, AP. Yeah, he had it.
There's a handful of them. It's not uncommon when they're this highly scouted.
And like I said, as far as like when it comes to the air game, I truly think he's going to be their second, if not first, option when it comes to designing plays and stuff. Obviously, you're going to have a wide receiver as the number one when you're doing actually designs. But there's going to be a significant amount of third down plays that he has, and he's the first option read for the quarterback, just because of the way Arthur started making plays completely changed towards Patterson, and I think he's better.
I feel like Patterson's a tad different just
he's
because
stuff.
No, not just that, but even if Bijan's just as good as a pass catcher, the way Patterson was used was in a way that only probably Matt Ryan probably could have done it, because I think Ritter's butt cheeks and whoever was before Ritter was butt cheeks. Like, they both throw the most uncatchable balls in probably the whole NFL.
And I think Ritter's going to be butt cheeks, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, so checkdown's good, but like as far as how they use Patterson, like deep touchdowns and 40-yard freaking wheel routes, I'm like, no, that ain't happening.
I would say he probably also gets every single red zone opportunity that's inside the 10, inside the 5.
Yeah, I guess it's just more coming down to how good the Falcons can be. I mean, I guess it's not bad if they're bad either, but they still have to at least get close to the red zone.
I think it's just straight up opportunity and his overall talent, and they drafted him 8th overall, so obviously they feel very high on him to do that with a running back. The only other person that I can remember in the previous years is Barkley at 2nd overall versus Giants, and he had a phenomenal rookie year. Where would you say his touchdowns are this year? Obviously, Falcons aren't that good of a team, but they're on an easy division.
Low end, 8, high end, 13.
Yeah, I got him at like 14 plus touchdowns finishing.
Yeah, that's possible. It's just high.
And the reason I say this is because they have the second easiest schedule in the league, and they're also on the easiest division in the league.
Yeah, but they also are butt.
What?
Said they just, I don't know. I just don't trust the QB to lead.
Yeah, but like you said, they're also butt. So if they have to run the ball because they're up, great. If they don't, they can do both.
They're gonna run the ball regardless. That man runs it when he's up, down.
Exactly. And then if it comes to the air game as well, then he's still going to be a part of that. Like, there's no one else. It's not like Tyler Algier is taking that over. And Patterson's like, 33, 34 now?
Yeah.
So there's no way they're going to pick him over their 8th round pick. So I just see his potential, his situation, and his overall talent can be as much as, like you were talking about, Saquon Barkley and CMC, to be honest. But we got to see it actually come to fruition rather than just talk about it. So go do your thing, BJ and BJ. And hopefully you finish in the top 5, because I'm definitely extremely high on you this year. And I will be gladly to draft you this year.
A little off topic, but he also is a fantasy, I guess you would say, guy, because he's already doing fantasy advertisements for Yahoo. I mean, Yahoo sucks, so maybe that'll be.
Does he do advertisement, or does he talk about it as well? Like Eckler,
I don't know if he's like Eckler.
Okay,
I just assuming because he's younger and he has an advertisement with Yahoo Fantasy that he somewhat knows about it or plays it.
All right. Well, who's your third?
So third, I have Nick Chubb.
See, this is where I was debating these two.
Yeah. So best rusher in the NFL. Outside of like somebody who wasn't a full-time starter, he has the highest yards per carry in his whole career in the last, like, I don't know, compared to anybody the last 10 years, at least, maybe even 20. It's over 5 yards per carry. Really the only thing holding him back is his reception game. So that's why I have him really high this year, because Kareem Hunt is gone. So you're losing 40-plus targets to the running backs. He averaged only 1.5 yards or targets per game versus Hunt averaged just over 3 targets per game. So even if he bumps up to 3 or 4 targets per game, you're talking about an extra 30 receptions. For a guy like that, and I believe the Browns are going to turn it around with Watson. So
It's funny you say that too, because this helps your point, but also doesn't help your point with what you just said at the end. You said you feel like Browns are going to turn around. My man threw 3 picks yesterday in joint practice. Obviously, it doesn't mean much, but it's still first team on first team versus Eagles.
I mean, they won
3 picks, so I don't think you're going to throw a pick when you're screening out to an RB, but down the field, your Cooper Cup or your Amari Cooper pick, kind of whittled that down a little bit for me, but.
I don't know, but I don't put too much into preseason and practice. I mean, it's
true.
Yeah, you want him to throw a good ball, but one, they kind of want you to take shots in preseason. So if you throw an interception, like they're just trying to learn what plays work and what doesn't.
But it's always nice to have a positive rather than
it'd be like I'd be more worried about QBs overthrowing their player than throwing an interception.
Well, they didn't say that.
Like if someone's completely missing somebody and it goes to an interception, like you're a freaking, I don't know.
I'd imagine 2, maybe 1 at least out of those 3 interceptions were probably a shitty throw.
Like a Baker Mayfield or something, or a Ritter. That would worry me, but I'm not worried about Watson's talent, just more so him getting used to the team. So
but that helps Chubb anyway, so go on.
Yeah, either way, I think the Browns are going to turn around to at least get back to like the Brissett numbers, and he was like, Chubb was pretty much running away with the running back last year until they switched to Watson. Like I said, the only thing he's always been missing is the reception game. He's still capable. He's just obviously not as agile or as quick to turn after catching the ball, but he can perfectly fine catch a ball, run a couple yards.
He proved it last year.
So I see his targets going up, receptions go up, keep the same workload, keep the same yards per carry, give him a few more touchdowns, and bang, you got yourself a solid running back 1 who could easily somehow land at number 1 if everything goes right.
Yep.
But yeah, that's it for Chubb.
All right, well, moving on to our 4th, so I'm just going to take it real fast. It's Chubb for me. Like I said, I was debating between him and I actually had Chubb before Bijan Robinson, and then I was doing all the analytics of Bijan, and I was like, oh, this dude's situation and just talent and everything, and his just situation. There's just so much more positive for him in my eyes that I put him right above Chubb, but I would view them as like, if it comes to it and they're both sitting there, I'm going to be having a very, very challenging debate in my head. But for ADP wise, you could probably get Bijan and Chubb on your team at the same time, to be honest, because Bijan's going before Chubb nowadays. But anyway, I got Chubb at 4th. I would say, just like you talked about, the biggest thing is losing Hunt. You talked about as far as receptions, but also rushing touchdowns. Last year, he had his highest TDs of his career at 13, while Hunt still took 3 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving. We all know there's no other running back that is going to take Hunt's role, really.
The rookie, actually, Roshan Johnson, was brought in for that. He does look decent, but the fact that he's a rookie makes me think he's not going to be exactly what Hunt is.
Right. I still don't think he's gonna take 4 touchdowns as a rookie. So putting those 4 touchdowns in, even if you want to just give him 2 more touchdowns, that's automatically going to bump him up from this placing last year. Obviously, you say it's only 12 more points, but 12 more points in fantasy when it comes to ranking the top 5 running backs is actually significant number change. Chubb has never been the starter without Hunt, besides in 2019, his second year when Hunt came in week 10, and he had his highest reception of 36th, and last year he had only 27. So when Chubb was, let me try to get what I was trying to put at 36. Besides in 2019, second year, when Hunt came in week 10 and he had his highest reception. Okay, so in 2019, he had his highest reception of 36. And last year, he only had 27. So it's going down more and more as far as Hunt goes. And he's now leaving the door, which then, like you said, those receptions are going to no one other than Chubb / Moore, Cooper, and I don't even know who's their tight end, maybe.
Joku.
And Joku. I could see a little bit more going to him. But overall, he's just going to get way more receptions. And like you said, I think the Browns are going to have a better year than they did last year with the whole offseason, just like we talked about with the Amari Cooper state. The only downfall is Watson is taking away rushing and rushing touchdowns, no doubt about it. So even though Hunt leaves, now you bring in Watson, and he's going to take away rushing yards, and he's going to take away rushing touchdowns. But I still think it's going to help him more than it's going to affect him, just because they can still run RPOs and give him the ball, but then they can change it up every now and then. So that way, the times that he does get it, he gets it even a bigger pocket or less linebackers coming his way, which then hopefully gives him more yards per carry. But I would say that's his biggest takeaway or downfall is Watson rushing game compared to his previous years where he's had QBs that don't do any of that whatsoever. So he's always got the goal line work, and like I said, he got 13 touchdowns last year, which is pretty damn good, I would say. So that's why I got him at 4th. I would take him at 3rd, but Bijan's just got too many more positives to me. But they're flip-flop for me, to be honest. Who you got as your 4th?
I got Tony Pollard.
Nice.
So I've always liked Tony Pollard since the end of the league. He's obviously been a lot more explosive, and he's raised his ranks enough too that he kicked out Zeke. Mm-hmm. He's somewhat like a Kamara, a little unproven as far as how well he'll do when he goes up another 50-plus carries. So we'll see how he holds up, but I think he's a very aggressive player, and I still think he wants to prove himself both as a player but also for that fat contract. So I think he's going to ball out. I think he's going to stay close to his efficiency numbers. And I just love that he's going to be the lead back, so he's going to get all the opportunity for touchdowns. Giving him a lot more touchdowns is going to fly up his ranking. That's really the only thing that was holding him back, was Zeke poaching almost all the goal line work. So I like him a lot there. He doesn't have competition, like I was saying. People are hyping up Deuce Vaughn because he had one good preseason game.
That dude's going to get tossed.
But the dude's 5'8" and weighs about a little bit more than me. So, I mean, the NFL, it's very hard to do much except like gimmicky stuff with that, like Sproles. And Sproles is way better and actually bigger as far as muscle and weight wise. So he's not going to do anything. The hype's not going to matter. It's a preseason game versus second string almost the whole time, or third string. So not worried about his competition. Not really worried about his volume going down anywhere. It should only go up in both passing and a lot in rushing. So the sky's the limit, really. It's just how well he holds up more than anything with the new workload. So if he holds up, I mean, what's his name's back? I saw that. Their offensive guard who was debating holding out, really just about his contract, but they re-signed him.
Yeah,
gave him another like $8 million over 2 years.
Talking about Zach, something.
Yeah, Martin, the top one of the best guards in the game. So with him there, I think their line's gonna be solid. I think the Cowboys will have another decent year like they always do. I normally don't like when the offensive coordinator leaves that I like, because I really hate their head coach. But the good thing is,
I don't think I've ever liked their coaches, really. Have you?
Like head coaches? No.
Yeah.
But so, the coordinators, yes. Like I liked what's his name when he was a coordinator.
He hasn't done much since he left there,
Mr. Clappy Hands. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't mind their coordinators. It's just usually their head coach. But either way, I really hate their current head coach. I don't want to blank on his name. The only thing I like, though, is that he's going to run the ball more, because that's what he's known for. Mm-hmm. So that should help Pollard. It just won't probably help the team. But I don't think they really need much help with that, because they somehow still get high-scoring games all the time. That's just the kind of team they are.
Right.
Kind of like a Chargers or something. But, yeah, I like him this year a lot. I think he's another guy that could possibly land top 1 if the cards land right.
Ooh,
and he gets
that high, you think?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason he's not is because he hasn't proven it yet. He hasn't proven what happens when he gets 200 plus carries.
I mean, I think he has a talent for it. Don't get me wrong. I think it just comes down to his schedule, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, but he just never had that volume, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
If he gets the volume, why can't he go another 7, 8 plus more touchdowns?
I got him going like top 3.
I'm just saying that he has a possibility of landing one. Possible. Yeah. Not super likely, but
right?
Yeah, so that's why I have him so high. I like his ADP comparison compared to like how I have him ranked because I think really he deserves to be 4 or 5.
Right. You're basically choosing between him and Chubb when it comes around.
Yeah. Like I like that he can fall to the second as like your first running back if need be, but or you can double up with like 2 really good running backs because running backs go late this year.
His biggest not question, but the odd part I thought he'd be more of a reception guy, but he's actually more of like a rushing guy when it comes to it, and especially with Zeke being gone this year, I think he's going to get even more rushing attempts.
Oh, he's definitely getting more. It's just
right. So like I don't know. Every time I view him and I just look at him, I just think of like a reception back.
Yeah, he's bigger than you think. Like he looks slender, but he's over 200 pounds.
Yeah,
he might even be like 215.
But anyway, moving on to
like
our
6 foot some too.
Our 5th. I'll get to Tony when we get to him. He's definitely my top 10, and I wouldn't be mad taking him there, to be honest, in my 4th your 4th. Moving on to our top 5 or our 5th. Yes. Saquon Barkley for me, which you had at what, your 2nd?
Yeah.
And I was doing this ranking back when he was like debating the whole thing, but then I moved him up when he finally finalized with them. But a big thing that you didn't really talk about is his contract was very up in the air, and then they finally got it finalized. And basically, if he gets hurt whatsoever, like the littlest bit, I think he's going to make a career decision to just like not, if he doesn't have to, not go on the field that week. Which then, if you take away 2 or 3 games, you're automatically hurting yourself in the top 3. Which then puts me out at 5. So, like, his contract thing is what really got me going as far as, like, not putting him in my top 2 or 3. Not really talent. As like you said, his talent's amazing. But then also you have Darren Waller coming over, which I believe he came late last season, right? Or is this his first time?
No, this is his first game.
So then they didn't have anyone because Ingram moved over to Jaguars. So, yeah, they really didn't have anyone. Darren Waller is a tight end, which usually takes away most of the close passing work. It's usually not a deep one, even though Darren Waller can do it both. So that's going to take away some of his receptions, or some of their game plan is going to go towards Darren Waller now. And I'm pretty high on Darren Waller. But the crazy part is their O-line is literally the worst in the league, yet he finished with 1,300 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns last year. So can he do it with how shitty his situation is? Yes. So that even speaks more volume if he had a good situation, what he could do. But I just see him with his injury. He is injury prone. And if anything happens, even if it's the littlest thing, I could just see him holding out a game, maybe 2. And hopefully that's not playoffs for you, because then that would be really annoying. I thought he would do it. Actually, no, because in his eyes, it doesn't really matter that much towards the end. If anything, he would want to rest up more for if they make it to playoffs. So that wearies me a little bit. And then he finished 5th last year in PPR points, and I think it will be the same this year, just less in the running game and more in the passing game. So meaning I think his team is going to need him in the passing game more than his rushing game. Like I said, he had 1,300 rushing yards last year with a shitty O-line, and he's going up against a very tough division. So I don't think his rushing is going to be as high as, I think he over-exceeded last year in his rushing game. But this year I think he's going to be needed more in the receiving game. So hopefully they get him open and scheme something up to get him off. But
do you remember when
he puts at 5 strictly because of his contract, and if he tweaks anything at all, I think it's going to make him lose a game or 2, which then puts him at 5 for me instead of 4 or 3, which is where I usually would have him.
Do you remember when they changed coaches? Because I feel like the Giants look decent towards the end of the year.
I
At
don't.
least their defense.
I don't remember, to be
I
honest.
feel like the second half or sometime they changed coaches, I believe. Or
Not
maybe
sure.
he just got it together. But all I know is their defense actually looked decent at the end of the year, to the point like it allowed them to be in the games close that against pretty much teams that they thought they had no chance against, or other people the crowd thought. So I like that for him. But like you said, their offense is not much there.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing to me is just he overexceeded with 1,300 rushing yards with what he has as far as an O-line and as far as the team scoring. So I can't see him doing that again this year, regardless if you want to say something about contract, not contract, whatever the situation is. I feel like he's going to take a step back from rushing, but he's also going to go up in receptions because their O-line's so bad they're going to have to throw the ball in the blink of an eye. So they're going to throw it short, which means they're going to give it to him or Waller, but I think Waller's going to take away something. So that's my fifth. What's your fifth?
I got Austin Eckler.
All right.
So as I spoke earlier, I just think all his receptions are going to go down because his targets will go down, and he'll get 6 less touchdowns minimum per game. So put him at 12 touchdowns or less on the season. Just put him back into a normal running back world as far as targets and touchdowns, and you get a guy that's an above average fantasy running back.
Yeah,
But nothing special.
Like you said, we spoke about it earlier, and I'm not mad with your fifth placing or like mind blown, but I mean, it is what it is. He's definitely going to take some kind of regression. I just think that he has such a safe floor and ceiling that he is higher up on me, and because other stuff is going to happen to other running backs while nothing ever happens to him. Maybe this could be the year, but he's never shown it, so I'm going to continue to stick with it. But the difference between our top fives
I don't have Bijan in it.
You don't have Bijan in it, and I don't have
Pollard
in it. Which then brings us on to our six, which is mine, Tony Pollard.
Bijan Robinson.
That's kind of crazy. So we just pushed out of the top five is Tony's for mine, and then what's it called? Bijan for yours. Mine, really, Tony gets pushed out strictly because of his schedule. Josh talked about all his positives earlier. His schedule is extremely tough, and his playoff schedule is even harder. You got Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit. And like Josh talked about, the bad thing about him as well is he's going to get more workload, so how much more workload can he take? I don't think that's going to be an issue because I think he can, but with his schedule / playoff schedule, if there is a time he's going to do less because he has so much more workload, it's going to be his playoff schedule, which is versus Buffalo, very tough defense, versus Miami, pretty tough defense, and versus Detroit, which is a tough defense. So I don't want that when it comes to my playoff. He's a great draft / sell or trade later kind of guy for me, at least. But one other thing you didn't talk about that I really like about him, you talked about Chubb having great yards per carry. He actually had the highest yards per carry at 5.2 yards per carry that finished with 1,000+ rushing yards, and Chubb was a part of that, but he didn't have a better one. I think Chubb was like 4.9 or something.
4 years straight.
Right. But Tony Pollard hasn't had the option, and now he does, or the opportunities, and now he does. But anyway, he's had one of the best yards per carry at 5.2, and the second best yards per carry that has 1,000 rushing yards. The only other person who would you try to guess at yards per carry last year that had 1,000 rushing yards plus?
And rushing?
Not Chubb and not Pollard. He's in the top 5.
CMC?
I mean, he's not in the top 5.
Oh. I don't know. Stevenson?
1, 2, 3. Nope, not Stevenson. Aaron Jones. Surprisingly or not, Aaron Jones had a 5.3 yards per carry, which is pretty mind-blowing to me, to be honest. But they did have a good offensive line last year as well in Green Bay. But, yeah, I think his biggest cons for me are his yards per carry / he's getting more workload. But his biggest pros for me, his biggest cons for me are his schedule and how much can he hold up. Like I said, I don't think that'll be that big of an issue. But as far as his schedule goes, towards the later end of the season, that might become an issue. And if it's not an issue and he doesn't show any signs, then I would just keep him and ride him out through the playoffs. But if he's starting to show like, hey, versus the tougher defenses, I'm not as good, then I would easily trade him before you get to playoffs because I do not want him in playoffs if that's the case. And that's why he's got to be in my top 5 and he's at my 6. But as far as explosiveness, like when you watch him, he looks like he wants to get an extra 3 yards every single time. Like he'll just it'll be his run will be done and he's about to get tackled and he'll just dive forward for an extra 3 yards, which is why I think his yards per carry is one of the highest because he's so explosive and he just wants more and more yards, which is great from a running back, but also can be bad if you get more workload and you're just not as, I wouldn't say tough, but big. He's a very slim dude when it comes to that. So, but that's my 6. You said Bijan. Got anything on Bijan? Even though he's a rookie,
really
there's not much to.
Just that he's a rookie. I'd rather not take my first running back as a rookie. I mean, like, it can pan out. I don't like unproven stuff. As much as I like his talent, and there's an opportunity for him to land that high, or he will get opportunity, it's more so, will he pan out, or he just, like, almost the mental aspect, like, he's already on a real high, like, he got drafted high, blah, 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 everyone already loves him, so, like, he's not as pressured to perform, like, he's not the underdog, so he's not really, I mean, he got paid a lot, too, as a first round, so he's not working for a contract as much.
Right. Let me ask you this.
It's more just how much does he love the game and how hard is he going to play even when his team sucks? Like, almost like, is he going to play as hard as Saquon did, even though his team sucks?
Yeah, I hear you. His advanced stats are insane, too. I didn't really like talking about them because it's advanced and it's just too much to actually tell the people and them care. But let me ask you this. When it comes to drafting with their ADPs, obviously he goes before almost everyone you have besides CMC and Eckler. Would you be you're not drafting anyone over him when it comes to the draft other than CMC?
Not drafting. Wait, what are you saying?
You're not drafting anyone. No, you're not drafting him above anyone other than. Yeah, you're not drafting from 5 to 1. There's no one you would throw out if it came to Bijan coming up. Like, say if Bijan dropped to where Chubb and Pollard are going, which is usually like late second or early second.
Yeah.
And Bijan's sitting there.
It depends who I picked first.
Okay. But you might pick him instead of them two then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's just because he has a better upside.
Right. And that's kind of where you would want him to fall. But he's not falling there right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Which I don't completely get. Like, I feel like a rookie running back hasn't been drafted this high. Even Saquon wasn't drafted that high.
So the last person who was Harris. He was early second. I got him early second. It was his rookie year, 2021.
Yeah, but that's even second. This dude's 6 off the board.
Right. I'm saying if you get him early second around Chubb,
yeah,
which is where I got Harris his rookie year, and I was so hyping him. I was like, watch, he's going to be rookie of the year. Unfortunately, Chase was it Chase?
Probably. Jamar Chase.
I think he got rookie of the year. But if it wasn't him, it would have been Najee Harris. Harris finished third that year in PPR. So
yeah,
it's definitely, like you said, possible
kind
for
of
him.
Similar situation, honestly, too.
Right. But I would say better, to be honest.
Not that great of a line.
No.
He's just going to get more work.
Falcons have great O-line.
Yeah. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just he's not that great of a team.
He's going to get amazing work with amazing talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of risk for your first running back.
Yep. And especially if it's your first overall pick. I would say it's definitely tough to do, but I think I might do it.
I like the guys who have a little more drive. Like, I feel like Tyler Algier is going to have a lot of drive. Not that I'm ever going to draft him, but I think he's going to take a little more work than people expect just because he's got a chip on his He's got a chip on his shoulder. I mean, the thing is, even if he does take more than people expect, like, they ran the ball over 400 times last year, the team.
Oh, I understand. So, like, someone else is going to get more.
So Bijan could still get freaking 280 rushes.
Right.
And what's his name could get 100 plus. But
right.
I'm just saying, some people think, like, he's not going to get 100. I'm like, no, Tyler Algier could still get 100 plus rushes.
It's possible. I don't think he will, though.
And I think he's hungry, and he's put up already 4+ yards per carry. Why can't he do it again?
Right, but I think that has to do more with the offensive line than anything because Patterson even put up 4.9, 4.8.
Hungry dogs.
Yep, but that is our 6th. We're going to move on to our 7th, banging these Jones out at the end. My 7th, which I am surprised that I have him here, but I'm putting him here. I feel like he's not even in your top 10. He's not in most people's top 10s. Do you know who I'm going to say?
Aaron Jones?
Joe Mixon.
Ew, that's disgusting. You need to go back and look at his fantasy.
Nah.
I mean, it's the least efficient.
He's now a bigger workhorse. He was already the workhorse, but P. Ryan took a lot of work last year. So now P. Ryan's gone. The P. Ryan drop is phenomenal for me in his eyes. Plus, people underestimate how much Bengals throw the ball to their running backs because he had like 60, 69 receptions last year. I forget exactly what it was. Even with P. Ryan catching the ball like that.
Receptions or targets, you mean?
No, I think it was 60 receptions too. I don't know. I have to look into it. But P. Ryan doubled his touches in both rushing and receiving last year. So from 2 years ago to last year, he doubled his touches in both rushing and receiving. Now P. Ryan's gone, and we all know that the year before that, when P. Ryan didn't double his touches, Joe Mixon finished second, I believe. It was your second or fourth overall in PPR, I forget. But with P. Ryan gone, I see him taking a significant jump from what he finished last year, even though I think it was 10 or 11th, somewhere around there. So it's not too dramatic of a jump, but it's still pretty significant when you're in this low of things. Bengals are tied for the 3rd highest pass rate, but have an average to below average line, which is where they're probably tied for the 4th lowest ADOT, which I've talked about when it came to our wide receivers, was it? I think it was. But basically, Bengals are throwing it short a lot more than throwing it deep, which is why I'm not too high on Higgins. And with that being said, then Mixon's going to get a lot of receptions. P. Ryan was the reception dog and took a lot of touchdowns away in receptions because of that. So I think they're going to give that to Joe Mixon. He's more than capable to do it. And they have to get the ball out fast, so it really just comes down to him. Bengals have a pretty easy schedule, to be honest, before their bye, but a pretty tough one after their bye. So if you want to do a buy high, what do they call it? Buy high, sell late, sell whatever it is. Draft him, sell him after his bye. I would definitely do that if you can because his schedule gets very tough after his bye in week 7, and then he has a pretty easy playoff schedule versus Minnesota. Would you say it was pretty easy defense, right?
Yep.
Pittsburgh, everyone ran over them last year like a motherfucker. This dude's gotten like 100+ rushing yards and 90+ rushing yards the previous 2 years. KC, another easy-ass defense that I could see him run through. So those 3 as playoffs, you might want to keep him on his later schedule, even though it gets pretty tough other than that. Ever since Chase joined the team in 2021, he had his highest rushing season of 20, and he had his highest rushing season. In 2022, he had his highest receiving season, all with P. Ryan doubling his workload. So basically, Chase came over, and it just helped him significantly. 1, because his team got way better, and 2, because it opened the field up more for him to run/receive, and they did that. Which I don't think they changed their offensive coordinator, right?
No.
Yeah. So they should be doing that yet again. Obviously, Chase was out a few games last year, so maybe that fluctuated or can't think of the word, but basically gave him more receptions than he should have had to the running backs because Chase was out, which Chase does take some of those slot / close to the goal line, screens and stuff like that. So that can take away from him, but I don't think it's going to be dramatically taken away from him. He should get back to 300+ touches, which then puts you in the top 600 or 6 running backs, and 10+ TDs this year with the receiving work he gets plus the rushing work he gets with P. Ryan gone. The craziest part is he's projected at RB15 on Sleeper.
It's because he belongs.
I get you might think 7's crazy, but I think 15 is insane. And I am
ADP is
super,
great.
I am super high on taking him where he's like if he falls to his 15 running back, I'm literally taking him every single time. I don't care who's around there, unless something crazy happens. I'm literally he's my favorite right around where he goes. So if he falls, if I get to him and he comes around me, I'm most likely going to be drafting him, no doubt in my mind. And I hope none of you guys listen to this because you know
All
what
right,
I'm
that's
doing.
fine. All right, so let's talk about Joe Mixon a little bit. So he had 9 touchdowns last year, right?
Yep.
Pretty good number, right?
Yeah.
Pretty decent number.
For 7th overall, yeah.
So 5 of them came in one game.
Okay.
So take out one game, and he has 4 touchdowns all year.
Okay.
So he's 4 touchdowns on all those touches. Garbage. He played every single week except 1 week. So he played. Why didn't they play KC? Was that like a? The hell? Why is it beeped out? I guess he didn't play that week either. So
it's because I don't know. Sleeper's been like that. It's supposed to be a bye. Ignore that. It's the bye. See how it don't.
why is it 2? It's weird, right?
Where's Casey? Oh, he must have been hurt because it says 21 things. He was
All right. Anyways, so
okay. Well, we can't just say all cons and say,
three,
what about if you
4.
add 2 more
So he
games?
has 5 games that he was out. So he played 12.
Okay. So it's probably going to go up. That's what we're hoping.
Huh?
That's what we're hoping. He comes back and plays 5 more games.
Yeah, I mean, that'll help. But, I mean, his touchdowns, garbage, like efficiency-wise.
5 more games. You give
his
him
targets going to come down with a healthy Chase. Don't say they're not because they were high. Like, P. Ryan left. Like, my man was averaging like...
I think they'll come down, but not dramatically because P. Ryan's not there.
And he had his worst year per yards per carry. So he's slowly falling off. I mean, he is getting old. He's 27. Usually anywhere between like 28 and 30 is when running backs fall.
I also don't think... No, they are. They're semi-good. I would say like they're mediocre offensive line, but go on.
Yeah, I mean, they've been building up for the last 2 years. That's like all their picks and money's been going towards protecting Joe Burrow. But outside of... So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 out of the 12 games he played, because he only played 12, remember, so ignore that. So only 30% of his games he ended in top 10 running back. So every other week he placed outside the top 10 running backs.
That's fine.
What do you mean that's fine? So 75% of the time you're getting a running back 2 at best.
With P. Ryan being gone, I think that's going to go dramatically up. Plus.
Why? His targets aren't going up.
What?
Why his targets won't go up? What's going to go up?
They can go up from week to week. In total,
he's not going to go up from last year. Last year he was averaging 7 targets per game.
Actually, he will go up in total because he's going to have 5 more games, and P. Ryan's gone. So regardless if Chase comes back or not,
per game basis.
What?
Per game basis, he is not averaging more than 7 targets per game. He's not, which is what he averaged last year. So he's not going up from there.
Okay.
And his touchdown, I mean, maybe they'll go up a little bit per game.
So why are you saying none of this is going to go up? Let me ask you that question.
What? Because first of all, running backs normally don't average 7 targets, let alone more than that, unless your name's Eckler and you're on a weird offense.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
But why? Because Jamar Chase is coming back.
Because Jamar Chase? Okay. So Chase, when Chase was here, which was 2021, he had Rookie of the Year. The dude was still getting his numbers. Okay, he had...
Because look at the difference.
Yeah, he had 42 receptions and 314
receptions. Look at
yards.
the targets. The targets
48.
are a huge difference.
Yeah,
per
it is a
game.
huge
Per
difference.
game basis. Don't give me overall crap.
per game. I don't have those numbers right now, but I can go into
he's
it.
averaging in 2021. He averaged like 4 targets per game. He averaged 7 last year. It's 3 target difference per game when Chase is there. It's a difference. I mean, like you said, his ADP is worth it regardless. It's just ranking him at 7. Like, you better hope all the cards fall right because that is his absolute ceiling. Like, I am not banking on Joe Mixon. Say, like, you go, like, super heavy wide receiver, like 2 wide receivers to start.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know. Say you get, like, Jefferson and come back and get another really good wide receiver. And then end
If you
up
have
with
2 dominant wide receivers and then you have him as your RB1, I'm fine with that.
I'm just saying there's better options for upside as your running back one
And
than him. He is not his consistency is going to be 10 points per week, which is garbage for your running back one.
Right. But it's
and that's
not,
probably what he's going to give you most weeks. And
but it's not
some of the
garbage
weeks he
when
hits a
you're
touchdown.
probably going to you're only taking him there because you have significant upside on the other positions, wide receiver, tight end,
but
QB.
So we both know he's worth his ADP. It's just he's not worth ranking at 7 because that's his absolute ceiling.
I think overall
there's no way
7th. I think overall 7th is like total end of the year total points. You're talking about a week to week basis. I understand this. Total, which is what we're doing, end of year rankings, I could see him falling near 7th, yes. With P. Ryan gone, with giving him 5+ more games. He missed 5 games last year.
Saying he's not 7 or higher.
And
there's not a chance.
He's already proven the year with Chase that he can get like 50 receptions.
If I somehow had a line, it wouldn't give you a line because of where he's being drafted. But if there was some line and your ranking was the correct one, I would bet freaking $1,000 he doesn't land 7 or higher.
I don't think he's going. There's definitely a ceiling if you want to say that, but we're trying to guess where he's going to fall.
Yeah, and but if it's his absolute ceiling, why would he fall at his absolute ceiling?
Because he can.
That's like, Bijan can land number 1. Yeah, I'm not ranking him number 1 just because he can.
Yeah, because of the people above him that I think are going to finish above him.
You don't rank somebody.
I don't rank off of injuries.
All right,
I rank off of
whatever
playing the full season.
There's no way he's landing 7 or higher.
And you think there's no way he's going to finish 10th either, right?
I would bet against it, yeah.
Okay.
A lot.
I'm not betting against it. I'm just saying.
I would bet a lot against it. I'm saying, like, it's possible. Like I said, 7 is his absolute ceiling. 7 to 10, like 10's more reasonable, but he's definitely.
Right, let me put it this:
like
he's
13.
also 7th because of the Jonathan Taylor situation and the Josh Jacobs. Jonathan Taylor just came to practice. What do you mean? What the fuck?
Oh, you're saying rankings wise. I get what you're saying.
Jonathan Taylor situation, Josh Jacobs situation. I don't know if he's going to play. Like, Josh Jacobs would probably go over
just
him.
roll through my guys.
But as far as ranking goes,
who
those 2 dudes would be above him, yes, I would say. But in their situations, plus with Breece Hall coming back with
yeah, I know you're saying
like the whole situation.
Options, but
yeah, like this is why I have him at 7th. Plus the next, like he has the receiving yards. He's the last good reception dude that is also going to get a lot of work on a very high offensive team, high power offense team. Like he's the last one left. The only other person is well past 10th, and he's not going to be. He's not in the same situation, should I say?
Yeah. I mean, I've liked Joe Mixon. I just think he's falling off. That's my biggest point.
I had a very hard time finding anyone from 7th to 10th strictly because of what's going on in the running backs.
So pretty much we're saying after 6, we kind of don't like the running backs.
Yeah. For me, yeah.
I mean,
I just like Mixon because where he's going.
After Bijan, I don't love any of the running backs.
Like, I don't at all.
I might stop drafting.
But I'm taking Mixon where he's going.
Yeah.
That's
because you like him further down.
Right. At RB15, come on now. Give me that all day long. Yeah. I think he has the potential to be 7th.
I feel like the 7th and on, especially like following like the normal ADPs out there, is just, it's rough to draft someone that high in the second rounds.
Right.
These running backs.
So who's your 7th?
I got Najee Harris.
See, I feel like we could debate this then. You're saying after 6 you don't like it, but like Najee could literally fall out of 15th as well then too, because of the situation. Like,
yeah, but I think he has
his own line's still shit.
I just feel like so much is working against him. Like you were just talking, Najee ended 3rd as a rookie with not a great team.
Right, 2nd. Yeah, it was 3rd. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I think that's realistic of where he could end just because he's that talented.
But you put up the Joe Mixon per game thing. You know why he finished like that? Bull got 17 receptions in one game.
Who, Najee?
Yeah, and
Okay.
120 receiving yards in one game.
Okay.
That's not going to happen.
I mean, I agree it could be inflated from one game, but I'm not really worried about his last year stats. The main reason
years ago.
I'm not even
yeah.
looking at his last year stats even is because my man came back from a Liz Frank surgery.
Yep.
And
he will be
then,
healthier this year. I agree with that.
And he was dealing with another, I think it was like an oblique injury in the middle of the season, and somehow played through all that.
Yeah,
and still was decent.
Yep.
Like he was able to handle the volume. So the whole like speak of like, oh, he's falling off. He's not going to be the running back much longer. It's going to be whatever his name is.
He's going to be the running back. But Warren will still get his work.
I mean,
Warren
Warren's
has shown
talented,
up.
but I just feel like what's his name has always been the coach that has a workhorse.
I
He
agree.
feeds his top running back until he can't no more. So I think Najee's going to get fed, and I really, really like the Steelers. Not to be an amazing offense, but I think they're going to take the biggest leap.
11 wins plus.
I'm just saying, like, from where they were last year, which was pretty much doo-doo, to this year, like, it's going to be a big, big leap when it comes to how their offense.
But being a Steelers fan and hearing talk 24/7 about them, they're a pass it around kind of team. They're not a whereas Najee Harris will be the work down horse. It's going to be a lot of pass, a lot of run, a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of like different plays.
Fine,
so he's not
as
going
long
to
as he's on the field,
right.
Which is I think he will be close to like a high 70% snap percentage.
My biggest thing is they don't have a weakness anywhere offensively. I'm not saying they have the best anywhere, but they don't have a weakness other than their O-line. And they have a great tight end. They have a great running back.
Haven't they been this offseason but working on their line?
They got Eagles guard, Isaac, whatever his last name is. And they drafted their first round pick was a right tackle from Georgia. But he hasn't
really good defense.
Yeah, defensive team. But he hasn't looked very good in the offseason so far, they've been saying. But he's still probably going to start, and he will make the line better. But the line was horrible last year. So they're probably going to be like mediocre this year, which definitely does help them, but it's definitely still their weak point.
I just feel like he's very talented, and people are down on him because he's after his rookie year, he obviously didn't perform as well. But I think it's more because of his injuries than anything else. So I think a healthy version of him is going to be like Saquon last year.
Yeah. I would also say you're making me like him more and more now because all the other people behind him that you have
and his ADP is probably great. I haven't even looked.
You don't have to worry about him. You know what I mean? Like
does he go before Mixon?
He goes right around Mixon. But he goes before Mixon.
Check real quick.
I believe he goes right before Mixon.
No, he goes quite a bit before him.
Does he?
1, 2, 3.
What rank is he?
So Mixon was 15?
Yeah.
14, 13, 12, 11 now.
11. But I'm pretty what's their ADP? 28
well, he's 11th running back, but he's 30th.
29th and
he's 10 spots before Mixon.
Right. Which is Breece Hall wasn't there before though. Breece Hall is back there now, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Breece Hall's above all of them. But yeah, he's around that area that I want him. Plus, like I said, there's no question marks with him. Like it's not like a Josh Jacobs holdout or Jonathan Taylor holdout or a contract situation with Saquon Barkley or he doesn't get receiving yards. Like there's no worry when it goes into drafting him, I guess you would say. So I kind of do like him higher, but I don't know, 7th. I'd rather take one other person above him, to be honest. And then 9th and 10th, I could see him.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like after 6, it drops a lot for me. So I'm not too picky with who 7 through 10. I mean, like I have my favorites, and Najee's going to be one of them, but I'm not like dead set on them.
Right.
Like I'll depend on how my team pans out. If I want more security, I'd probably go somebody else after Najee because I don't think he's as safe.
I think his toughest thing is going to be touchdowns. I don't think he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. I could see him
have a lot last year, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
He had like 4 or 5.
Super fast.
I don't see why he can't get back to like 10.
Harris. He got a lot of screen passes towards the end of the year. Plus, last year he had Pickens halfway through the year, and now he has Pickens fully, like all year. He had 7 and 7 both years, and 3 and 3. So he has 10 rushing, 10 touchdowns total each year. I see that coming down, to be honest.
Nah.
Truthfully honest. Yeah, I see it coming down.
He's always been good.
7
in the red
rushing
zone.
touchdowns. I don't see that happening.
He's been good in the red zone always.
He has. It's just more or less that the Steelers O-line can really take a plummet whenever they decide
Not
they
from
want to.
last year, but go for it.
Overall, no. I agree with you. Like they're definitely better, but as far as time, play after play or red zone option after red zone option, they literally could like shit the bed and get railed depending on what defense they have. But anyway, that's your 7th. Moving on to 8th, like we said, we don't really like anyone outside the 6, but we gotta rank them, so we're doing it. My 8th is Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so is mine.
Nice. So we just switched up. See, I would be fine.
I don't even mind taking Henry above Najee too.
I would be fine replacing Joe Mixon with Harris, to be honest. But I would also be fine taking Mixon over Harris. I think they're the last. Like, all right, I'm good with them.
I think the lowest the Henry's ever been though.
Yeah,
in
no doubt.
ADP.
I mean, his biggest con this year is his offensive line. Can we all be honest? Like last year, they weren't good, and they're even got even worse this year. So they really can't be. They're literally ranked worse PFF ranking. Plus, just in general, you can just see it year after year. But that being said, he's still got 1,500 rushing yards. So
Yeah.
how much does he need an offensive line? But he also got 350 rushing attempts.
I like how much.
Not much people get 350
Got
rushing
a lot of
attempts.
receptions last year compared to any other year.
Yeah.
Which
I don't think that's
like.
going to happen again this year with what's his name back, the Hopkins.
Yeah, I don't know.
He
I
didn't
just
have
feel like
A.J. Brown.
overall, you can't really argue against Henry.
Yeah.
But you just can't get super excited.
I mean, another con too, which he's had more cons, which is why he's this low, is his team is nowhere close to what his best year was, which was 2020, when they literally went undefeated until they played Steelers and then lost, and then they made it to Ravens in playoffs, and then they lost to the Ravens again or something like that. But they had a phenomenal year. It was with A.J. Brown in 2020, and their team is nowhere close to that now, even defensive-wise and offensive-wise, especially O-line-wise, because their O-line was amazing back then. Now it's not. So I think that will hinder his touchdowns, which I think are his biggest pros right now is how many touchdowns get. We just talked about it earlier. He had like 12, 17, and 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
If memory serves me well. So I think his team not being good, plus Hopkins coming in taking some of that, is going to hinder his touchdowns opportunities. Plus, a lot of his touchdowns I feel like come off of like breakaways, don't they? I mean, he has a lot of breakaways.
No, not really.
Sure.
I mean, it's probably like split half and half.
Right. But I can't see that happening year after year after year. But I still think he's going to get his work. He's going to get like 325 rush attempts. Last year he got 350.
Yeah.
I can't see it dropping much more. 1,500 rushing yards.
He's for sure safe.
He's a safe rushing.
But I feel like this is where he should be drafted every year, but he's not. He's always overhyped.
Well, he got
so
injured
safe.
the 1 year.
Yeah. I just know he's always like in the first round. I'm like, why?
Right. And everyone's also worried of how much rushing attempts he's going to get. He's going to eventually also take an injury.
Yeah, fall off.
Yeah, like there's no way he
eventually will, but
yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I'm not going to bet on anybody. If I'm
Fall
going to
off.
bet, like I'll bet on people falling off, but him, no. I'll wait till it just happens.
I don't know. The next year it's going to be worrisome. Dude's
It's
been
always
having
worrisome. It's just
dude's been having like 5 years of 350 plus
wasn't it
rushing
last
attempts.
year or was it the year before he actually had injuries? The Liz Frank and crap like that.
It was 2 years ago. It was coming off of last year.
So
That's
he
why his
did.
rank was bad last year because of his injuries. But the thing is like his O-line has never been this bad other than last year. So his
I keep
injuries
saying that, but if it's worse last year, then it only can get better.
No, it got
Najee's-
worse. It got worse this year.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying his line last year was horrible too. But I'm saying
Yeah.
it got worse this year, and I'm saying this because he's going to get hurt eventually. if you have a
and he's
bad
not the
offensive line.
type
You're
of
gonna
runner.
get hit more.
He's not the type of runner to really, like, he's a really big guy, but he's just not agile. Like, he can't rely on
Yeah.
talent.
He's got to
for
have
an
open
offensive
field,
line.
and then he's explosive.
Yeah, he needs holes.
Yeah.
He needs something. He can get stuffed pretty bad.
The good part is I think Titans will run him until he's dead,
Yeah.
and
he's
I don't
cool
think
with that.
I don't think he cares. I think he trains like he wants to run until he's dead. So, I think he's a safe pick here, to be honest. But I don't see him having a high ceiling and finishing in the top 5, to be honest, at all.
No, it would have to take a lot of injuries to other players.
Yeah, definitely. All right, move on to our 9th overall running back. Mine is Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, I've been off him a lot. I really need to put him somewhere, but I got Josh Jacobs.
See, that's how I was with him. I was just like, he has so much talent. The dude's finished in the top 5 the past.
Talent.
I understand that. He's finished in the top 5 his past 2 years. And if it wasn't about his contract this year, plus his O-line taking a little dip and his team overall, what are we like shying away from him? You know what I mean?
I mean, the biggest thing is you just said it, but you're missing Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to take a lot of rush attempts,
much, but we'll see.
I think he's going to run a lot, Anthony Richardson, like 7 to 10 times a game.
But that could help him with having
it helps efficiency a little bit,
big plays. It could help him having like big plays.
It helps him with efficiency, but I don't think it helps him overall because Taylor's the running back who needs he's a big workload guy, so you give him 10 plus carries, and that's when he really starts okay, I found the good hole and break out. If he doesn't get enough opportunities, he could be stuffed for 30 yards. I've seen him where I took his under because it'd be super high, 100 or something, and I would take the under on a bet, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm about to win this. He's got 30 yards in the third quarter, and he's crap all game, and then he hits a freaking 60-yard boom. But that's only because
his
ran
quarterback
the ball
will help him
15 to 20 times that game.
But I think he can do that with his QB, with the defense having to rely on his QB running now.
I mean, I know you're saying, but I think it's more.
They could have an RPO and give it to the running back and go left while the quarterback goes right, and they think the quarterback's going.
I get what you're saying, but I think it's more about opportunities than it is the scheme. He needs a good amount of opportunities to be able to hit that hole, or the defense makes a bad choice.
I understand.
If you give him less, you're like, it might not happen.
Just a few notes on him. My biggest worry is I don't think he's going to play his heart out this year. Being, I forget the owner's name, but Ursay or whatever his name is, basically treated him like a number regard instead of a face. Whereas in Cowboys, the Jerry World dude always treats his players like players, not a number. So I think he's still going to play, but I still think he's not going to play with the drive to I want to be the best, because he knows his talent. He knows he can get hurt again because he already got hurt. And he can go to another team. I don't believe, is it next year? This is his 4th year he's going into. So next year, I don't think he was first round, right? They might be able to franchise him.
They might be able to pick up an option for 5th round option.
But regardless, I don't see him playing his heart out. But the good part is not only is he a 3-down workhorse, but he only has Pittman on his team. It's him and Pittman, and that's the team. That's what makes the team. He has a good offensive line talent wise. Last year they kind of took a dip, but the year before that they looked phenomenal. Maybe they took a dip because Jonathan Taylor wasn't there easing it up for him. I don't know. That's kind of a reach, but it's just him or Pittman, and that's it. Like you said, the QB, I got to see how much rushing yards he takes from him. Obviously, it's definitely a thing that can hinder him. But since joining the league, he finished, like I said, 6th and 1st overall when healthy. Last year, he wasn't healthy, so you can't really say much that. I believe he had what was the surgery this offseason? It's an ankle one, I think.
I don't remember.
I think it was an ankle surgery, so he's still trying to get through that, but I think he's fine with it now. But he's also talking about these injuries, my back, whatever, but then he's saying it's not him.
Yeah, it's too much drama.
Yeah, it is a lot of drama, which is why I have him at 9. If it wasn't all this drama, I think I would rank him higher. Just for my first overall running back, I can't really take him confidently, which is why he's got to fall in my late 10s. But he's got the talent for it. So.
He's a do not draft, just like my number 9.
Yeah, they have the good part I also like is they had the 3rd easiest schedule, and a cakewalk playoff schedule. They have Pittsburgh, Falcons, Raiders. All horrible rushing defenses. Raiders a little bit better, but as far as come playoffs, you're gonna love this dude as long as he's playing and as long as he's trying his heart out come playoffs. I'm hoping his ankle surgery, so it was his ankle. It doesn't affect him much, but if it does affect him and how much he plays or doesn't play, like this pick is going to solely come down to draft day, whatever your draft day is, what his status is for the team. And then has he suited up yet? Has he practiced with the team yet? Has he not? What's going on with it? That's where my ranking. He could go out of my top 10 if something bad happens like that. But if he's practicing and we all know he's going to start week 1 and he's healthy, I think I got him at 9. But it could even fall to 10. But his talent level and his offensive line, what they can be, just has to make me put him in the top 10 because there's other people that have even more question marks to me and more problems. So I got him in my 9th overall. Who you guys, your 9th?
So similar situation, Josh Jacobs. Obviously, he had the best year he's ever going to have last year. I don't think he's going to repeat that.
He's still not in Vegas.
Yeah, the contract situation. I feel like eventually he will play. I don't know when, but I think eventually he will play just because we've already seen it really doesn't help to hold out as far as his financial aspect. He's not going to make more money by holding out. So I think he will play. He doesn't have any competition in the running back room. Devontae Adams just got an injury, not anything crazy, but enough that'll hamper him possibly even the whole year.
For real?
I didn't know this. It was like some like hamstring or something tweaked. I don't know.
A bit.
Yeah, maybe, but we'll see. I think Adams is going to play through it just because they need him to.
Yeah, makes sense. They have a shittier quarterback,
but yeah, they got a crappier quarterback that likes to throw short passes. So could I don't think it will much, but could increase his targets a little bit. But even if you give him 10-20% less than last year, that's still a lot of work for a guy like 300 plus touches on a team that, again, is in a division that has to score high. Like all their opponents are scoring high, so they have to put up numbers. And he'll be part of the plan just because he's one of their best weapons that's still there. Between Adams and Jacobs, there's no Waller. There's really not much there, if that anything. So they're going to use him regardless if he does well efficient-wise or not. So I just like him as a volume play. Obviously, he just has to report to the team before draft day.
If he does report before draft day and he comes in, is he moving up on your rankings?
No, but I probably won't draft him this year because he's overdrafted from last year, or I believe so. Well, maybe he's not because of his contract right now, but I know a lot of people have him ranked like top 5 just because of.
I might put him at
last
7th.
year. Like I feel like his last year's not a good example of what he is talent wise. Like his years before that pretty much show that's kind of the running back he is. Like I like that he has drive. He's a really passionate football player, but I still don't think he's anywhere near as talented as the other top 10 running backs in the league.
All right. Well, like you said, you just said the past 2 years, I have, moving on to our 10, I have Josh Jacobs. Like you said, the previous 2 years shows more what he is. And like you just stated, the past 3 seasons, he finished 3rd last year. So you said he over-exceeded, which I think everyone knows he did. And then the year before that was 11th, so 1 place behind. But I think his situation is a lot better than 2 years ago now. Plus, this might be his last year as long as he reports, I believe. Or they can franchise him and tag him again next year. I don't know what it is. That shit's all wild. I think if he plays this year, he's done. He's a free agent.
I can't remember this is his 5th year option or this is his 4th year.
I don't know.
I think if he can play this year, like but they still have another year
to franchise
tag him.
I don't know, so but he finished 11th 2 years ago. This situation's better, and then his rookie year he finished 8th, or not his rookie year, his 2nd year. So this is his 5th year. Yeah, so this going in his 5th year. His 2nd year he finished 8th. So the 8th and 11th are kind of where I have him at right now. And like Josh said, the only reason he's at 10th for me is because of his last year's numbers. The dude had 340 rushing attempts. No one has had a higher rushing attempts other than Derrick Henry for that kind of rushing attempts. So when you give him that much rushing attempts, they didn't do anything to change their offense other than bringing a shittier quarterback, like we just talked about, who likes to throw it shorter. So if anything, it just helps him more. It's not like they have a running back committee. I believe it's just him, really. And Adams, if Adams gets hurt, it's really just him. It's literally going to be an Eckler with Keenan Allen gone or Williams gone, like you said. So I can't see anything dropping wise as long as he reports to camp. So if he reports to camp, I might draft him as high as 7, to be honest, just because I really don't like my 7th on. Mm-hmm. But the only other person that I might steer away from and draft over him is Derrick Henry, just because he's super reliable. And I don't know what's going to happen with this Josh Jacobs drama. But moving on to your 10th.
Quick, I got poop. Stevenson.
Even
Ramondre.
with?
Oh, my goodness.
Even with Elliott coming over?
Elliott's fat slob who sucks balls. No, I'm just kidding. He's all right, but he'll take some running or touchdowns away and some goal line touches away from Stevenson. But Stevenson only scored 5 touchdowns last year, 4, 6, I don't know, something really low. So even if he doesn't go up in the touchdown, like he should this year, I still think he's going to get 60% plus snaps, so majority of the workload. And I like Ramondre. I think he's talented. I think he's hungry to show that he is capable of being a high efficient top running back in the NFL. So put him in like a similar situation as far as volume goes as like a CMC on a obviously worse offense, not as great scheme, but same volume, like same amount of targets, same amount of rushes. I don't see why he can't land right at this range. I don't think his upside's as high now with Elliott there. Before, I could put him in like the top 5 possibly, just because if the Patriots take any step forward and Stevenson got 10 plus touchdowns, there's no reason he can't land top 5, but now he really can't in my eyes. So he max ceiling probably like 7, because I don't think he's beating the top 6, and then floor, I don't think it's crazy
15,
great,
16.
but yeah, 15, 16. So I mean, it's pretty much right where he deserves to be.
I'd say the biggest thing is what you said earlier.
I just don't like him as RB1.
Oh yeah,
he'd have to be RB2.
What you said earlier is it was mind blowing to me. He only had 5 touchdowns in total. So even if you want to talk about Zeke coming over, taking away the end zone opportunities, he didn't really have much to give away anyway. So in reality, it's not really that. It's the other numbers that come along with it. So if anything, he might just keep the same exact amount of touchdowns this year, which then could put him up there. But like you said, I don't think he can finish better than the top 6 people that we have ranked. I believe all of our top 6, we have the same exact people.
And the good thing is now that Zeke's there, people are going to fall off him even harder. So he could, I mean, his value wasn't bad to begin with, ADP wise. So now it might even get better.
Right.
So like if he falls like 5th round, like that's a pretty good running back.
If he falls around Mixon, who are you taking? Mixon or Stevenson? Taking Mixon.
Again, it depends on how I draft. I would say Mixon's a lot safer. So if I feel like I have riskier picks before him, then I'll take Mixon. If I have very, very safe picks, I might take Stevenson. But it's close. Like they'll probably like back to back for me when it comes to that. I just think Mixon's on a way better team and he's more guaranteed. The work versus Stevenson is probably like at least 20% less work than a Mixon.
All right. Well, that's it. That's our 1 through 10 running backs for the 2023 NFL season. We will be doing our 11th through 20th, probably either this week or next week. And then you have your fantasy drafts coming out. So like, comment, share. Sharing is caring. And hit us up if you want to join our draft. We're getting closer and closer to it. So hopefully we can pull it away and somehow get enough people and get it all started. It is going to be a crunch time for sure. Like, comment, and subscribe. See ya. Peace.
Peace.